am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Good morning to you. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Listen, I'm seeing that my name is not showing up. This is a wonderful thing about having friends join you. You can make a mistake and it'll be all right. I don't know where my name went, but here it is. Here it is. Good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome again to another episode of Inspire. I am your host, Sue Webley. I'm an author, producer, minister, and entrepreneur, and I believe in the power of words, witness, and wisdom, and that is exactly what Inspire is all about. Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., we host space for honest and soulful and transformative conversations with guests from all walks of life. We're about to be 4 years old this month in June, right? So we're about to be 4 years old, and I'm so happy that that we've been able to get to this point, and we could not have done that without all of you who have supported me since day one and are still kind of coming on and hanging out with us today. So we talk to everybody: entrepreneurs, artists, thought leaders, organizers, everyday people who are living boldly and authentically. We explore topics that matter, from mental health and identity to faith, business, justice, creativity, and healing. So whether we are spotlighting a community leader or celebrating personal triumphs, Inspire is rooted in the power of story and a belief that when we speak our truth, we light the way for others. I want to invite you, as you are coming on, to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and Inspire with Sue W. You could also head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. There you can watch all of our previous episodes, find out a little bit more about the show, and subscribe to our newsletter so that you don't miss anything that's coming up with Inspire. You don't miss anything. We don't want you to miss a thing. So let me see who is here with us. Good morning. I see you on YouTube. Angela Harvey. Thank you, dear sister. How long have we known each other, Angela? Oh my God. But way back. Gosh, it's 26 now, so a long time. But thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Hey, Instagram, I see all of you coming in. Thank you for joining us this morning. And so, yeah, forever. Forever. Thank you for joining me this morning. Listen, yeah, I know how I do. If it's your first time, this is their introduction to this part of our show. If you've been with me since day one, you know I'm going to ask the question, right? What are you sipping on this morning? What you got in your cup, y'all? What is in your cup? Now, y'all know I have coffee in my cup. I try my best to always have coffee in my cup. Now it's decaf. Okay, don't come for me. Because I love coffee, but coffee don't love me. And so it's decaf in my cup. Got some almond caramel. I think loved it, a mixture of almond caramel and vanilla creamer. So that's what's in my cup. I'm gonna take a sip while y'all tell me what's in yours. So what are you sipping on? Is it water? Is it tea? Is it coffee like me? Is it orange juice? Is it like a fabulous smoothie? It is such a good time of year for a smoothie every day. If it's something stronger, I am not judging you. Okay. But let me know. Let me know what you're sipping on. Let me know where you are viewing from as well. And do me a favor, do me a great big favor, and share this episode this morning because I'm excited about it and I want you to be excited about it too. Okay, share with your family and friends. Tell them to come on and hang out with me here on Inspire. Now I know if you're joining me, especially from the West Coast and the Midwest, that you love me. So thank you because it is early. It's early in the morning, okay, on a Saturday morning. And for many of us who have worked throughout the week, Saturdays are when we want to kind of sleep in or get up early to get all of our chores done. So if you're taking time out to hang out with us this morning, I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. So we are closing out the month of May, right? And so we are still in Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this year's theme has invited us to think about more good days together. And part of that means paying attention to what actually helps us feel grounded and restored and connected in a time when so many of us are overstimulated. Now, if you know me, I'm nervous spicy. It don't take much for me to get overstimulated, right? So many of us are overstimulated. Many of us are overextended and carrying far more than we let on. And sometimes healing kind of comes through therapy, right? Get a therapist. Everybody should have a therapist. I believe in therapy. Sometimes healing comes through therapy. Sometimes healing comes through prayer. Sometimes through rest, and sometimes through beauty, through encountering an image, a gesture, a body, a work of art that reminds you that you are still human, you are still worthy, and you are still capable of wonder. And this is why I'm so excited about our guest today. She creates that kind of encounter. Lammie-Hanson is a self-taught artist, born and raised in Harlem and now based in Chicago, whose monumental metalpoint drawings stretch an ancient medium into something breathtakingly contemporary and unmistakably Black. We blackity black over here in Inspire. Working in silver point and gold point, drawing with precious metals on prepared surfaces, she creates large-scale works that center Black skin, Black movement, Black memory, and Black sacredness with extraordinary rigor and tenderness. Now, on the surface, this might sound like a conversation today about technique and process and career milestones. And yes, we're going to go there if we get a chance. We're going to go there. But we're going to talk about what it means to work in a medium historically tied to European traditions and insist that it hold Black life at a monumental scale. We're going to talk about her recent recognition at Expo Chicago, where Agility to Surrender received the Bennett Collection Acquisition Prize, and about the Cathedral of Alvin, her 14K gold point interpretation of Alvin Ailey's Revelations. If you're in Chicago, man, y'all have to get to a studio. I missed the opportunity to get there. But next time I go to Chicago, I'm going to find myself in a place where if you're in Chicago, if you're in the surrounding area, we're going to make sure that you get that information later on so that you can go and visit her studio. But with all of that, I also want us to notice some deeper questions underneath the art. What does it mean to render Black bodies in materials the world already calls precious, right? What does Metapoint allow her to say about Black skin that other media do not? What does it take mentally, emotionally, spiritually to make this discipline, this luminous, this large? And in the middle of all of that, where does joy live? Y'all know we talk about joy here on Inspire. I try to ask every guest a question about joy. Because those are not just art questions, those are life questions. Those are wellness questions. Those are identity questions. And in a month where we've been talking about mental health, I think it matters that art can be a site of affirmation, a site of reflection, and even a site of emotional survival. Dee's work continues a lineage of Black artists who refuse erasure and refuse smallness. From Dare to Be Black and Shining, her Silver Point love letter to Harlem, to the Indigo Seven works that study dancers' bodies in motion, she is creating not just images, but monuments of attention. She is asking us to slow down long enough to see Black grace, Black power, Black surrender, Black radiance. So whether you're an artist, an art lover, someone from New York and Chicago and New Orleans, and the other places that she has hailed from, someone thinking about beauty and belonging, or someone who simply needs to be reminded that Black life is worthy of gold, this conversation is for you. Stay with us. Stay with us, y'all. When we come back, we'll be joined by self-taught artist D. Lammie-Hanson for a conversation about art, place, value, joy, and the sacred work of making Black life visible and limitless. Let's take a look at some of her work. Good morning, D. Lammie-Hanson. Good morning to you.
Hello. Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
It is my joy and my pleasure. And listen, as a fellow Baldy, that Indigo series, all the bald women speak to me. I was going. Listen, because
Well, that is the Fusion series, and I actually, yeah, I shaved my head when I left New York, and I went down south, and it was the most freeing thing I ever could have experienced because I got to see what I look like. Because
wow,
where everything is all about your hair,
yeah,
like how it's just part of the culture per se,
yeah.
but we don't get a chance to actually see our faces, see who we are, and it gives you such another level of confidence, when
Mhm,
you do it. Like put some bright red lipstick on like you have, your
mhm.
earrings, anything you put on actually looks fabulous, with some heels, and the next thing you know, you're like popping it. So
and I know this conversation is not about hair, but as someone who
I
has
know.
alopecia and was, we're so tied, especially us, right? Especially Black women,
Hmm.
so tied to our hair. Our hair is very much a part of our femininity, right?
Hmm.
We see it as womanhood, right?
Hmm.
As our covering. And so when we begin to lose that, I know for me, speaking personally, it took a long time for me to be like, okay, this is what it is, right? This is what it is.
Yeah,
But it's so right. It is so freeing, right? It's
it
so
is.
freeing. And now I still rock a wig. I was gonna rock a wig this morning. I was like, nope, what I'm saying, I'm not gonna do it this morning. And I
Thank
still
you
rock
for not doing it. We
I
get to
do.
see you.
So yeah, thank you again for joining us. I had to put all of the photos that you sent in that slideshow because I'm just like there was who can choose which one to show on Inspire. It's everything that you have done. And I know there's so much more than what you sent, but everything you've done is just so mind blowing, and I'm so grateful that you are sharing your gift with the world. Thank you for saying yes to sharing your gift with the world.
Thank you for asking.
Certainly,
Thank you for
uh,
asking.
we certainly need it. Before I get to our first question, you got something in your cup over there?
Matcha.
Oh, matcha.
Yeah, it's like the best thing that just my body just totally loves myself some green tea matcha,
Mm.
and it's so smooth. So
I
here's to
haven't
you.
had matcha. So it's green tea. Is there cream in there? Like what else is in
Well,
it?
I put whole milk in there, but
Okay.
it's like it comes in a powder. If you ever get it in like some of the really cool places, they have the powder of like it's really dense, and they have to like what do you call it? Unbruise it kind of thing
Yeah.
to let it break down. Then they start steaming it. They go through
Mhm.
the whole thing with it. But when I have it, I'm just like, I just put it in there and go, okay, work, work. You
Well,
know?
I definitely have to try it. I definitely have to try it. So, but yeah. So thank you again for joining us. Now, we a lot of people don't know about or may not be familiar with metal point, right? That's
Mhm.
the that you use. And so, as
It
we
is.
begin our conversation, can you explain what metal point is, what silver point and gold point are, and what drew you to this demanding and sometimes unforgiving medium in the first place?
The right word is unforgiving. Because when I first started, I will give you a little timeline. I was in the midst of trying to build my brown paper bag series. It was called Beyond the Brown Paper Bag Test.
Mhm.
And I was choosing all these very dark women to put on these bags. And as I was doing that, my husband said to me, "Hey, have you ever thought about interpreting your artwork into silver point?" And I was like, I didn't even know what silver point was. Mind you, I've seen images, never knew it was silver point, you know? And so then he gave me a couple of examples. There's this one other Black woman. Her name is Marjorie Williams Smith. She is the one, didn't meet her until years later, but she is the one that when I started looking at her work, she was actually doing silver point differently than the traditional way, which is a traditional way is going against a cream color and building your metal, and the metal tarnishes over time, it turns dark.
Mhm.
So when I saw her work, I was like, oh, I can do that because I wanted to go black and bring shine out. And metal point, if you can see this, is
Yeah, let me
actually
put you in this
it's a
overlay up.
silver wire. It's a
Wow.
silver wire. And this is an 18 gauge silver wire. I'm actually drawing with the metal here. And so as I'm drawing it, and you can see over here, I mean, I'm trying to over here.
Yeah, yeah.
This here is this whole image that you see here is pure silver. And this is the large piece that I originally did to celebrate Harlem. But it dates back to the 15th century.
Mhm.
And it's one of the other attractions is that Da Vinci did it. And it was very Renaissance. And what they used to do before it predates ink, it predates graphite, and the scribes, the medieval scribes, wrote with metal.
Wow.
Okay. So the thing is like sometimes when you actually saw the drawing, sometimes behind paintings was a drawing in metal. So I like the idea of creating artwork that was as beautiful as like the Renaissance. But what really turned me into wanting to do more black surfaces and building the shine is that I saw the Black Madonna of Montserrat in Barcelona, and I saw how the light shined on her skin, and you think very black, and then you see features shining, and it kind of took me to a place where this is the way I can celebrate black skin, which is if you are of the black culture, especially in the United States. Our parents, when we were children, did not send us out the door unless we were lathered up in Vaseline and baby
Yeah.
oil. That
Yes.
was a sign that you were taken care of and that you were loved. If you went out the door ashy as hell, it looked like nobody, gave a crap.
Right.
Right? So I kind of took it in that mindset, that formulation, and I said, you know what? I'm going to celebrate the shine on black skin. And when I say that, I mean, like, when you look at our features, we're always shining our cheekbones, our nose, our forehead, our lips. And so I wanted to celebrate that and use black or a dark color as the surface of like the culture or the skin, because there's the black, which I'm thinking black skin. But when I do the indigo, not the blue that you saw, but the indigo blue,
Mm-hmm.
that has a whole nother set of history of the blue gold from 18th century, from Georgia, when they were doing indigo and the slaves were actually, processing it. It was more productive than the cotton crop back then. Okay,
Wow.
I'm sorry. I mean,
No, no,
so.
I so appreciate that history. And we actually have a viewer who says, I'm a beginner digital and traditional artist and painter. And they are looking forward to this conversation today. So I'm glad that we have some artists, some creatives listening, joining us today, because I know that this conversation is really going to bless someone. Even if you're catching it in the replay, I know it's going to bless you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm wondering, yes, it was a great history lesson. They're saying it was a great history lesson. So the surface that you use
Mhm.
is it what kind of surface is it for you to be able to?
Well, I have to create a ground surface. So I have to create a surface that actually gives me enough friction to leave deposits of
Mhm.
of the metal.
Okay.
So I'm primarily, but not limited to, silver and 14 karat gold.
Mhm.
I have used copper and brass. And I use brass on the ones that have very bright blue that you saw. Um, but I have to create a beautiful matte surface to give me the friction that I can apply and know my shadows and know my light.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I do it. And I build a wall of light behind me so
Mhm.
that on the surface I could see every nook and cranny that I'm creating. And
Yeah.
I have to be very careful because one of the first things you said, it's unforgiving. You
Yeah.
cannot erase it. You have
Mhm.
every stroke is an intention.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So MetaPoint is, it's often associated with these small, delicate works, right?
Mhm.
And and again, I talked about it being a European tradition earlier, but you've taken it to this monumental scale, right? You filled it with
Mhm.
black life and black skin and black culture memory. And so what was the catalyst? Like when did you realize that you're not going to ask this particular medium permission to hold us?
Um, I did do a couple of kind of landscape pieces that were big, like 75 inches by 40, and when I was teaching myself it when I was in Barcelona. But I wanted to see what it would look like when I got here. I didn't have space to create big the way I would like to. But then I got into the center program at High Park Arts Center, and I was able to at least go 48 by 48. I really wanted to do 96 by 48, but like something big. And the reason why is because I wanted I'm going to say children, men, all different ages to actually stand in front of it, see themselves. But I didn't want them to see themselves like this. I wanted them to see themselves in a much bigger context. And I did a Mother's Day show, I think in 2018, and it was amazing to see. It was like all these women from like 18 to 80, and I did my presentation, and then they came up to me, and the 80-year-old said, "You got me to think. I never would have thought that way about myself."
Wow.
And I went, and then the 18-year-olds were like, it gave them hope and, like something about that. And that from that point on, I knew that I had to continue to do this and just keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
Um, Due to the fact that I care so much about our psychological health, that ties into our emotional health, about who we are individually to ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I care that a young kid, and as well as an older person, can actually see something beautiful about themselves inside the piece that I'm creating, or even somebody in their family or somebody that makes them feel warm, or you know what I mean? Something that ties them to something that makes them proud and beautiful about who they are, where they come from.
Yeah.
And so another reason why I love doing this, and as big as it is because I'm taking time to care. We don't get a chance to experience that we are cared for. Not the mother, the father, the this, the, I'm talking about in the arts itself, something delicate, something deliberate that shows that we are 1,000 times more human, 1,000 times more, you know, intelligent, but yet elegant,
Yes.
you know? And I think that is very important for people who have not even experienced that or actually know what that feels like or what it is, you know? So,
Yeah. 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 That representation is so important. There's nothing like being able to see yourself. Um,
yeah. And I've
and
had people actually, before I even did this, I've had people go to shows that I was in, but it was a group show. And they said, I don't see me here. Not me, not my work, but other. She goes, other than I don't see me here. It's a really big thing for people to say that.
yeah.
And I'm talking about something that happened in 2005, six, or seven, you know? It's always stayed in my head,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, we thank you for all that you're doing. If you just joined us, I don't know what's going on with my voice today. Sorry about that. If you're just joining us, we are in conversation with the amazing Lammie-Hanson, contemporary metalpoint painter and digital artist. And so far this conversation has been rich, and we just started. We already got a history lesson, which I'm so appreciative of. And thank you for sharing what is behind what you do and your intentionality in making sure that we can see ourselves. You can see ourselves in your work, and you are in doing that. You're reclaiming. That we belong. Like we belong in this as well, right? It is.
I care about the
Yeah.
narrative that we have been fed over the course of all of our lives, to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
All of the people who are living right now is really manufactured in a way that even our youth believe it, and they don't really have in their hearts that there's something much more made. First of all, some of our youth don't even think that they deserve to actually feel that beautiful, that happiness, that joy. They think, and I got to tell you, when I was growing up, if you did feel that happiness, that joy, whatever, guess what happens? They would say the most awful thing to you, which is like, you think you're white because
Yeah.
Black people are not supposed to have that joy. And I mean, this is Black people saying to Black people,
Wow.
you know? And so we're going to go there, but I'm just adding that that was one of the things that, that stay with you as well,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Y'all, if you have a question or a comment for our guest today, please post it. I want to make sure that he has the opportunity to respond to everyone before we end our time together today. So you were born and raised in Harlem. So I was and spent a significant time in Brooklyn. I was raised in
Hmm.
Brooklyn, so I'm always
Hmm.
going to rep Brooklyn.
Cool.
I'm Yard, but I'm always going to rep Brooklyn as well. We
Hmm.
spent a number of years in New Orleans before moving to the North Midwest, and now you're based in Chicago. And when I saw that you were based in Chicago and you were raised in New York, I was just like, yeah, I'm raised in New York, and then moved to Chicago, just up and left and moved to Chicago. Didn't know a soul. I think I knew my broker, one other person, when I moved to Chicago, and I loved Chicago, like the energy, right? Um,
Hmm.
how do these places live in your body and in your work? Um, what did Harlem and Brooklyn give you? What did New Orleans give you? And what has Chicago made possible for you?
Harlem gave me a base um, of creativity, of appreciating creativity. I used to dance as a kid, and my dance school was at Teresa Towers in Harlem, which is on 7th Avenue, like right down the block from the Studio Museum of Harlem. Um, and but when I was growing up, there was residue of the heyday. Okay, but it was still going through its changes per se. But there's such a eloquence that Harlem always had, and I think if you're raised there, you feel it. Just from the older people that have, that you were around over the course of it. But then when I ended up in Brooklyn, Brooklyn gave me the passport to
Mhm.
say I am an artist. you
Wow.
know Whereas Harlem, it it wasn't giving me that. But yet the moment I stepped into Brooklyn, I was able to be an artist, and I met so many other artists. And I even started a arts organization at the time, to unite artists, to make them feel that they were, what do you call it, that they mattered, and that they didn't need Manhattan, because everybody thinks to be an artist, you got to be in Manhattan to do it.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was so much richness in Brooklyn that I'm like, why is everybody going to Manhattan for the success where they can actually do it in their front yard, not their backyard, their front
Right.
yard.
In front
Okay.
of
So then I had to leave there because my mom got sick. And so I moved south for a little bit. And then I settled in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is so much different. It made me feel like a little bit of Brooklyn in the South. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I still got to be an individual. I was not part of a hive. There are certain places in the South that if you're not one of many, they're scared of you. But when I went to New Orleans, the one great thing about them is that I got to tell you the history. They are the gatekeepers of all of our histories that
Mhm.
we don't even know. And then once you know half of the stuff over the 300, and it goes further than that, but the
Yeah.
300 years of New Orleans, because at the time, I think like 6 years ago was their tricentennial. And you got to see all the richness and how rich our history is. It gave me such I don't know, a pride that I didn't have before. Because remember, we're not raised with the right books,
Mm.
okay? We're raised with what they tell us the books, you get a
Yeah.
paragraph from Martin Luther King, Booker T. Washington, and maybe George Washington Carver, this big paragraph.
Mhm.
And then everything else is what it is. But when you go down there, all of a sudden it just opens up into this wow. You know, they have their way of doing things or whatever, and you have to respect that, you know. But it was time for me to leave New Orleans because at some point I'm like, you know, I need to do more than just, you know, like trying to get into this door or that door, especially with the way New Orleans is. They're very territorial about their people, and they have phenomenal artists. There's not one bad musician in New Orleans, and their artists are amazing too, you know. But coming to Chicago when I got here, the one thing that it was really amazing for me. I about to jump, you know, like you hit the ground running. That's the New York in me. You hit the ground running so that you can, you know, meet people and do stuff. And they welcomed me with open arms, and I didn't have to kill myself to do it because I've done so much work beforehand, and the work actually spoke for itself. And I was just so happy that it didn't become, who are you?
Yeah.
It becomes, I can't even tell you how it was, but it's like they loved the work. That meant everything to me, you know, because, you know, I didn't have to do the song and dance. I was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to do it. And that was the world. So at one point, you know, I had to detox my mental capacity of how I'm going to process my work now. And that is, and I said this to somebody, I said, you know, at this point, you know, what's going to happen is like, I'm just going to concentrate on making the best work possible. Everything else, I don't have control over.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Wow. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that. These I guess these threads that come, you know what I'm saying? Where each piece, all the places that you've been and that you've you know, that you've lived in, they all play a role in the art that you produce. So thank you so much for sharing that. We're gonna take
I forgot to say one thing.
Yeah.
No, I forgot to say Chicago brought me full circle back to Harlem because of the fact that the sense of community in Chicago made me think of certain things that happened in my neighborhood in Harlem before crack. And therefore, I was able to create a piece like this based on my knowledge of how a neighborhood functions before disaster kind of hits it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can go.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. We're gonna talk about your love letter to Harlem when we come back from our break. Thank you all again for joining us. If you just joined us, we are in conversation with Lammie-Hanson, a contemporary metalpoint painter and digital artist. And so, you know, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and we will be back with more conversation with our amazing guests. Hey, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. We are at Inspired with Sue W on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on TikTok. Please do us a great big favor and give us a follow if you are not following us already. Also, you can head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. You can find out all about the show, watch all of our previous episodes, and subscribe to our newsletter because we don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire. Are you or someone you know on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same? Well, we want to hear from you. I want to sit across from you in this virtual space on a future episode of Inspire. Visit us at www.getinspired.live to book your appearance today. You can head over to our website, click on Be Our Guest, fill out that guest intake, and a member of our team will get back in touch with you. I can't wait to welcome you to a future episode of Inspire. Camera Solutions, helping you navigate the digital space with confidence. If you know me long enough, you know this is my baby. This is the one that started it all. Kara did turn 6 this year. We are so grateful for your support, and so many of you have told others about us, and we've been able to partner with so many wonderful organizations, individuals, in ministries just by word of mouth. So thank you again. Cara Solutions is a full-service digital agency specializing in helping our clients achieve their goals through consultation and training, content and social media management, graphic and web design, and live stream and podcast production. If you want to learn more, we invite you to schedule a consultation today by visiting our website at www.cara-solutions.com or email us at info@cara-solutions.com. So as always, you know that we are going to do this each and every Saturday. Our sibling and community needs a kidney donor, and I believe that we can do it. Yanni is in search of potential donors who are fairly healthy, have the blood types A or O, the courage to commit to surgery and save her life, and she would love to share the safety measures with you. Alternatively, if you know of a resource, if you know of an organization, somewhere that Yanni could get connected to help make this happen for her, please send that information to us and we'll be sure to get it to her. To contact Yanni and her family directly, you can do so at peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. And you can head over to EmeryLivingDonor.org, fill out the survey and enter her name, Ayana Davis. I believe that we can do this together. All right, it's time to get back to some wonderful conversation with today's guest. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome back to our amazing guest, Lammie-Hanson. This has been such a rich conversation. We might have to do a part two. You might do a part two because there's so much more. So after this question, then I want to ask you about your love letter to Harlem. I'm going to put your images on the screen, and as I scroll through them, just pick one out and let me know like where you were and while you were working on this piece, why that particular piece is so important to you. But we're going to do that after this question. So your piece, Dare to Be Black and Shining, has been described as a love letter to Harlem. So what were you trying to honor in that work, and what does it mean to make a love letter at that scale? This is one of the biggest pieces, yeah?
Yep, it's 8 feet by 12 feet, and it's right here.
Yeah.
It is. It was a way of me actually showing, because in Harlem they had projects and they had tenements, that were surpassing, and the way they made the second round or the third round of tenements in the century was that they put marble, they put, the brick work, everything was just so darn, and you don't pay attention when you're a kid. But I wanted to put things in there that, and my family is actually in the pitch, in the full thing. My mom's in there twice, my dad's in there once. I have like 2 sisters, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my brothers in there. And it's just, it shows you something about what the neighborhood felt like as a child, where the little girl can be dancing in the middle of the street, which she's like right there, but she's listening to the girl playing the violin in the window. So the violin is floating out into the street. This little girl just decides she wants to just start dancing in the middle of the street. The thing is that children in certain communities, Black communities, don't get a chance to experience joy and innocence in one thing, because when I was growing up, it was a moment, and then all of a sudden the drugs really started taking over the neighborhood, and with the drugs came the violence, the gang thing, the shootings on the street. So kids weren't able to be on the street anymore. Yeah. Humans weren't able to be on the street. And you have a little boy playing in the middle of the street with his little toy cars, and then it's like one of the things about the community, the barbershop brings the community together, but also in one of the windows, you actually see a woman getting her hair done in the kitchen. You know, it's just
Yeah.
all these little things that kind of, but you know, to me, that is my love letter to say we were of a certain, you know, we had a normal life and you didn't even know you were poor. You
Mm-hmm.
just knew that you had, you know, because there's a different level of poor in the North than it is in the South,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I've seen and experienced both.
Yeah.
And you, when you have the richness of family and, you know, your passion of life, you're not really poor. You know, you just, it's just about money and material things. But if you have the joy and the family and the love, all of that, you're more richer than most people will ever have,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
so that was my love letter to actually say that of Harlem, but also let people know that that right there could be any Black community in, you know, for, because at the time Harlem was what, 90% Black at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
It's
And
not there. It's
so,
not there anymore.
yeah, I know.
I recognize
But,
Harlem.
you know, like in the South Side, you know, they still have these communities, which is a beautiful thing because
Yeah.
then there's a level of richness still there, you know, that I appreciate. And it reminded me of like that moment in time in Harlem that I could say that that was there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm gonna add some, and mostly because I want the folk who's watching and who catch us in replay to see some of this work outside of the slideshow that I did. But I want to kind of go through and anyone that kind of speaks to you that you want to speak on, just stop me.
Well, that right there was Rihanna when she made $500 million, and I was actually doing the Essence Fest. I did a show based on the Essence Fest 25th anniversary. So 25 is silver, and I drew everybody in silver. And that was me saying, keep your head on straight, you know? And so it was the fact that this woman made more money in such a short amount of time on just her tenacity of her business and stuff like that. Keep it on straight. You know, that was what that was about. So it's called Fenty Headstrong
Plenty headstrong, beautiful.
and it's pure silver. This
Now,
one is based on, now this is an Indigo 7. And it was based on Gilded Agility. It's called The Grace in His Self-Embrace. And it's really so much about his soulfulness, his there's something beautiful about being a dancer, being masculine. You see all his muscles, but able to be just as, you know, there's a grace about him.
yeah, yeah,
And he's
yeah.
an actual dancer in Chicago.
Wow, wow. This is so
This,
powerful.
I told you I'm a dance, you know, a former dancer from a kid childhood. This is about, it's called Lost in the Dance. And this is that moment in the dance where he just released all his energy and he became part of the dance. So he surrendered.
Yeah.
Now, this is about the muscles of the dance. He then, and I only took his legs, but the body is doing something else on the top of his torso. But and this is 14 karat gold. The last two pieces, this piece and the piece before was 14 karat gold. So what you're seeing is a drawing in 14 karat gold against an indigo background. And it's just, this is me celebrating how much muscle he actually built to just be as graceful.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think is the fourth position in ballet, the way
Wow.
he's standing.
Wow.
These are Misty Copeland's legs.
Wow.
And she was the only dancer. I love toe ballet. And she was the only dancer that I could actually get that amount of tone in the legs. And I
Wow.
was so proud of those, you know, how deep in tone. And yet she had just enough darkness in her skin for me to actually play on the light
Mm-hmm.
on the muscles.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. It's
And
another
this
one.
is the boy version of Misty's legs. And I think those legs are neuro. I think it's a Russian dancer.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the one thing I loved about him is like the veins are going through his leg. This one is called the veins of the dance.
The veins of the dance. This is the picture right here.
Yeah. This was about showing the vulnerability. Like she is open to letting people see the vulnerability in her eyes.
Mhm.
And this one is called Serenity.
Whew, just beautiful. Now
And
this
that's a
one,
cross between metal point and acrylic. So she's
okay.
painted in a blue acrylic, but the detail in the design behind her is metal point.
Wow. Wow.
And this one is called it, the earring is a deeper symbol, and it's about God supreme. You know, the deeper symbol itself.
Yes.
So this was me actually showing the beauty of how she is blessed,
Yeah.
and that earring, because you know people wear crosses, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know, or Star David. So this is the way of giving her attachment to her belief of what God is,
Yeah. Yeah. This is you
and
in
that
your
shows you how
studio.
big. Yeah,
Yeah. This is how
this is
big
my
that.
last
Well, you're sitting
studio.
next. That's the one you're sitting
That
next to.
is that's the one right here,
Wow.
and
Oh
that
wow.
one is called Dare to Be Black and Shining. And the funny thing about it, and it was drawn with this. So it's like it took me. I started in April and I finished in January.
Wow.
That's how long it took. It took the bricks on the top actually took 2 months in itself. But I
Wow.
think you may have another picture, so you'll be able to see.
Oh, let me see. I have. I'm gonna
Now,
scroll. You want to talk to about this one?
well, this one is called She Holds the Balance. So whoever controls the balance, it's about how she's holding it. She can control the balance,
Yeah.
meaning the power is in her hand.
Whew. Is this the
And
sister to
that,
that
yeah, I love this one. Well, I
one?
love them all.
I love them all. It's beautiful.
This was actually a triptych. You know, it was a triptych when I made it. So there's one here, and then there's two more.
Mhm.
That one, that's the second one, or the third one, and that's the one in the middle.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
actually a friend of mine who's in Chicago, and she has four boys. You actually have her boys. I think the last set of boys, they were twins, graduated high school today. But I'll tell you about that story later. She's Aura. She's
Oh wow.
Aura.
Oh wow. Oh wow. 'Cause I want us. I want to go through all of them. Oh my goodness. But
No.
we don't have time. So we definitely gonna have to have a part two. But I do want to get to this question in the audience. I think it's Zepper. Zepper says, "What was your beginner journey like? How long were you in the fundamentals? I'm a beginner and I have been stuck in it for a while."
Well, I've been doing this since I was 5, and meaning just creating art. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, and it was actually cathartic. You know, it started as stick people, but then I started growing. You know, you evolve over when you get older. But up until I became professional in my 20s, it was always something I went to when I was depressed or wasn't feeling good about myself. And so at that point, and I have a whole, for the first 20 years, I did everything on my sorrow or other people's sorrow, women's sorrow.
Wow.
And I actually stopped that. I wrote a book called Painting the Individual Psyche. And then I said to myself, the moment this book is done, I'm going to start creating from joy. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much. And I was curious to see if I could create from joy, because
Yeah.
all I was doing up until then was like the pain or the sorrow or the this or the that, you know. And then once I started doing this, it's like, you know, I crossed over into joy. I just find things that inspire me. And I feel as though if I find images of people that inspire me, then I want to create something that goes beyond inspiring me to inspire someone else. So
Yeah.
that's where I get my rise up, you know.
Thank you for that response. They said, I love how you use cool tones. Is there any way for the metal to be more warm in color, or does it only cool that way?
You're only seeing, you got to be in the room with it, because you're only seeing it from the photo of the image that I take. But when you move around it, it's warm because it's metal. Remember, it's a reflective surface. A reflective surface responds to light. So it has yellow light, it'll respond to, or the warm light, and it'll respond to the daylight, the cool light. It changes throughout the course of the day. If there was sun out or if it was cloudy, it changes all the time. So it can be cool and warm at the same time,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
It
So
just
good.
depends on your application, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you for
And
responding to that
light.
question. I'm glad that you talked about joy because I've got to get this joy question in before we end our time. So, of course, we
Mhm,
talked. We talked about discipline. Talked about the discipline of this work, and even sacrifice. Right? It's unforgiving. Um,
mhm.
I want to make sure that we talk about joy. So, in the middle of all of what you do, where does joy show up for you? In the
From the
studio?
beginning, from the
From the beginning.
beginning. I wake up thinking about it. You know,
Mhm.
I wake up, it's joyful for me to have a plan so that when I come in, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I
Yeah.
go to bed. I sometimes don't leave the studio until I've accomplished something that I can be proud of. You know, and this is time consuming. It would drive somebody crazy, but I'm crazy. So when it comes to the fact that you're doing something, you have to be committed to your crazy.
Yeah.
And in that crazy, you actually kind of find joy. I don't I don't really care about, okay, the great thing, and I'm gonna say this, hopefully it comes across good. I don't give a crap about what other people are thinking. I can only have control about what I'm thinking and what I'm doing so I can do 100% me.
Yeah.
You know, that right there brings my joy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if I put other people's thoughts or how it's supposed to be, the only other way that I could sit there and say, if I'm creating from joy and something inspires me, if it brings me joy, I know it's going to probably bring someone else joy. Some,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying I have control over that. I don't, but I know that the happiness that I feel can cross over into the work, which bounces off onto the viewer.
Yeah. 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 Goodness. I hate that we are at time. It was just
I
such
know. I saw.
great conversation. Thank you for bringing your brilliance to us today.
Thank you
Your
so much.
discipline. Thank you for bringing your vision. Thank you for bringing your whole self to the space
Well, thank
today.
you.
Yeah, you reminded us that art is never just about technique, right? It's also
It
about
is
uh, value and spirit, the courage,
interpretation
interpretation.
too.
Yeah, but also that you've shown through this particular medium the courage to make Black life visible, right, in
Yeah,
ways that the world cannot ignore, right?
exactly, exactly. That's why it's so big.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah, yeah.
know, that's the thing.
Yeah, and I love that you're not just simply drawing bodies. I love your intentionality. I love that you are, um, rendering Black skin and Black movement and Black story, right, and materials
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
the world doesn't expect them to be rendered in, right?
Yeah,
Um,
they don't.
yeah, 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 yeah. And so,
They're expecting one thing that
yeah,
is not really 100% of who we are.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to Chicago. Thank you for giving us something deeper to think about as we, you know, close out this mental health awareness month. That this what you do can also be a form of care, right? You talked about care, right?
Hmm.
That you put
Hmm.
into it, but it's also therapeutic for you as you go through this process of creating, right? And so thank you for reminding us about that as we close out this month. And yeah, I'm gonna go back and even watch this again. I do want to have you back because I didn't know you wrote a book. Yeah, I know it's back then,
I
but
know. I'm sorry.
another book coming. I hope there's another book coming. Where can people find you?
They can find me at dlammiehanson.com. Also, I'm on Instagram at dlammiehanson fine art.
Mhm.
I like my little TikTok every so often because I usually do TikTok, and I'm on YouTube. YouTube, I'm at the Mental Point Alchemist, I think, or Alchemy. I think that's
Mhm.
what it is.
Mhm.
But
But yeah,
just you could put D Lemmy Hanson, you'll find
right. And so
me
I was
somewhere.
gonna say that. Put D Lammie-Hanson and it will pop up. I posted the link to her website inside of the chat. Please, if you are in the Chicago area, look her up. Look her up. If you're close by, if you're, visiting Chicago, please look her up. Get yourself in the studio. We talked before. We talked about even before we went live that it's different being in the studio.
It
There's
is.
kind of there's a completely different energy in the space than it is kind of looking at these photographs. And we felt some stuff looking at the photographs. I can only imagine what it's like kind of being in the space with those pieces. So please look her up. If you are going to travel to Chicago, if you happen to be in Chicago, if you live in Chicago, please look her up. And if this conversation kind of stirred something inside of you, don't let it stop here. I want you to share this episode. Share with an artist, share with a student, share with a dancer, share with someone who needs to be reminded that our stories deserve scale, our skin deserves light, and our lives deserve to be held with care. Okay. I thank you for joining us this morning. I am Sue A. Webley. Once again, you've been watching Inspire. And until we meet again, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated, but most of all, I want you to stay inspired. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, D. Lammie-Hanson.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.